Hello, dear YouTube viewers. I hope you're doing well, okay? Let's start our video. The narrator begins by describing how exhausting his week had been and how he originally intended to spend the evening resting at home. Despite his tiredness, he thinks about how eagerly his wife, Sarah, had been looking forward to her company's annual office party. She had talked about it for weeks, sharing small details about the preparations, the theme, and how excited everyone was. Wanting to make her happy and support her, he decides to surprise her by showing up unannounced. He reflects briefly on their marriage, describing it as steady and loving. They have the usual small disagreements every couple experiences, but nothing that ever made him question their bond. He trusts Sarah completely and has never had a reason not to. That trust makes the idea of surprising her feel warm and romantic rather than suspicious or controlling. When he enters the hotel ballroom, he is immediately struck by the vibrant atmosphere. The venue is elegantly decorated with golden lights, shimmering streamers, and carefully arranged flowers. Music fills the air, lively, upbeat, and energetic, creating a festive mood that almost makes him forget how tired he felt earlier. The sound of coworkers laughing, chatting loudly, and clinking glasses blends together with a sight of people dancing near the stage. Others sit in small groups at round tables, sipping drinks and sharing stories, while more work-oriented guests stand in corners networking. He feels a small excitement building inside him as he imagines Sarah's reaction. He pictures her face lighting up when she sees him unexpectedly walk in. He didn't call her in advance because he wanted the moment to feel spontaneous and special. He's also genuinely interested in meeting a few of the coworkers she often talks about, names he recognizes but faces he has never seen. However, as he walks deeper into the ballroom, he realizes he doesn't see Sarah anywhere. He assumes she must be mingling or busy with her colleagues. Casually, he sends her a text saying he's near the venue, expecting she'll check her phone soon and rush over to greet him. When no reply comes, he tells himself she's just caught up in the excitement of the evening. Still, a faint sense of curiosity, almost too small to call concern, begins to form inside him, though he brushes it aside for the moment. The narrator begins weaving through the crowded ballroom, scanning the room for Sarah's face. He nods politely at a few people he recognizes from previous company events, co-workers of hers he has met in passing. The atmosphere is lively, but he feels strangely disconnected from it as he searches. Then he spots Emily, Sarah's closest friend at work. Normally, Emily greets him with a warm smile and easy conversation, but this time she freezes for a moment when she notices him. Her eyes widen slightly, and her expression shifts into something that almost looks like discomfort or surprise. When he approaches her, Emily offers an awkward smile. There's a stiffness in her posture that he has never seen before. He senses a ripple of unease among the small group standing with her. They exchange uncertain glances, almost as if they are silently communicating with one another, wondering whether they should say something or stay quiet. The narrator immediately picks up on the tension, though he doesn't understand the reason for it. Emily finally breaks the silence with a hesitant question. "Oh, you didn't tell Sarah you were coming?" Her tone carries a hint of concern, though she tries to mask it with a polite smile. The narrator laughs lightly, still completely unaware of anything being amiss. "No," he replies, "I wanted to surprise her." Instead of smiling along, Emily pauses. She seems unsure how to respond, and her eyes drift away for a moment as if searching for the right words. After a brief hesitation, she finally says, "She's on the other side of the room, I think." The uncertainty in her voice is unmistakable. It's as if she doesn't want to direct him there, but also can't lie. A faint heaviness settles in the narrator's chest. His heart starts beating a little faster, though he still can't identify the source of his rising unease. Something feels wrong, even if he can't name what it is yet. With a quiet nod, he thanks Emily and starts walking in the direction she subtly indicated, each step carrying a growing sense of apprehension he can no longer ignore. As he moves through the crowd, his eyes sweep the room until they finally land on Sarah. The sight makes him slow to a halt. She is standing near a cluster of people, holding a drink, her head thrown back in loud laughter, more lively and animated than he has seen her in a long time. There is a glow to her, a looseness in her posture, as if she feels completely at ease. But what grabs his attention even more is the man standing beside her. Tall, sharply dressed, confident, Jason, the coworker she has mentioned casually in conversations at home. At first, he tries to take the scene in objectively. Maybe they're just sharing a funny story. Maybe it's nothing. But the longer he watches, the more uneasy he becomes. Jason leans in slightly as Sarah talks, just close enough that their shoulders nearly touch. She reaches out and taps his forearm playfully, laughing at something he said, the kind of gesture that suggests a level of comfort that goes far beyond professional courtesy. The two of them lock eyes for a moment, longer, deeper, more intimate than what he has ever witnessed between coworkers. There's a softness in Sarah's face, a warmth that should be reserved for him, not someone from the office. He freezes mid-step, feeling as if the floor has slipped out from under him. His mind races as he tries to rationalize what he's seeing. Maybe he's misinterpreting it. Maybe she's had a drink or two. Maybe it's just harmless fun. But those hopeful thoughts vanish instantly when Sarah leans in closer to Jason, her lips near his ear, whispering something that makes Jason smile. Jason's hand drifts briefly to her lower back, a touch that is light but unmistakably intimate. A sharp, twisting pain forms in his stomach. Confusion, shock, hurt, anger, and an overwhelming sense of humiliation rush through him all at once. He feels exposed, as if the entire room can see the betrayal happening right in front of him. His mind screams that this can't be real, that this can't be the woman he trusted so deeply. He stands there, torn between storming over to them immediately or walking away before he says something he might regret. But no matter what he chooses, one thing is painfully clear. Nothing about this moment feels innocent. He forces himself to stay still for a few more moments, hoping, desperately, that he is misreading everything. Maybe if he watches a little longer, things will make sense. So, he remains partly hidden behind a group of people, his eyes fixed on Sarah and Jason. Jason gestures to the bar and offers her another drink. Sarah giggles an unmistakably flirtatious sound and nods eagerly. They shift slightly to a more secluded corner of the ballroom, still within view but separated enough from the crowd to feel borderline private. From where he stands, the narrator can see Sarah's posture clearly. She's leaning in, hips slightly angled toward Jason, shoulders relaxed in a way that feels unfamiliar. She touches her hair more than usual, a gesture he knows she does when she wants to look attractive. It hits him that he has rarely seen her this openly playful or flirtatious, not even at home in recent months. The realization stings deeply. He tries to calm himself with logic, telling himself he might be overreacting. Maybe it's nothing, he repeats internally. Maybe they're just joking, coworkers having fun. Maybe she's had a drink or two and doesn't realize how she's coming across. But even as he tries to justify it, a sickening clarity settles in his chest. This is not normal. This is not innocent workplace fun. This is something that crosses a line. Then it happens. Jason reaches forward and gently brushes a small strand of hair away from Sarah's face. The gesture is intimate, deliberate, and undeniably inappropriate. Sarah doesn't pull away. Instead, she smiles softly, as if the touch is welcome. That's the moment everything inside him snaps. His heartbeat pounds so loudly it feels like the room is echoing with it. A wave of adrenaline surges through him, drowning out the music and chatter. He inhales deeply, steadies his jaw, and takes a firm step forward. His mind is no longer questioning or rationalizing. The time for observing has passed. He knows he can't stay on the sidelines any longer. It's time to confront what he's seeing, no matter how much it hurts. He starts walking toward them slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. At first, he moves cautiously, trying to keep his emotions from bursting out all at once. But as he gets closer, his pace becomes steadier, firmer, driven by a mixture of hurt and disbelief. The noise of the party fades into a dull background hum, replaced by the thundering of his own heartbeat. Sarah is mid-laugh when she finally notices him approaching. Her smile collapses instantly, replaced by a tense, frozen expression. Her eyes widen in shock, and the color drains from her face. Jason turns his head as well, recognizing the shift in atmosphere almost immediately. He takes a subtle step back, as if instinctively trying to distance himself from whatever conflict is about to unfold. Sarah attempts to act casual, straightening her posture quickly, but the nervousness in her eyes gives her away. She forces a shaky smile and says, "Oh, you're here?" But the tone of her voice betrays her. She doesn't sound pleasantly surprised. She sounds caught. He stops right in front of them, his expression calm but cold. "What's going on here?" he asks, his voice controlled, though he can feel the tightness in his chest. Sarah stutters, fumbling for words. "We were just talking." She tries to laugh lightly, but it comes out thin and weak. Her eyes flick toward Jason, then back at her husband, clearly searching for something she can say that won't make things worse. Jason, trying to break the tension, steps forward slightly and offers his hand. "Hey man, I'm Jason. We were just having a friendly chat." His smile is forced and uncomfortable. The narrator doesn't take his hand. He doesn't even look at it. His gaze stays locked on Sarah. Sarah begins to ramble, trying to explain away the touching, the giggling, the whispering. But each explanation sounds more like a flimsy excuse. "It's not what you think," she insists, her voice cracking. "We were just joking around, that's all." He shakes his head slightly and quietly calls out the specific things he witnessed. The whispering in Jason's ear, the hand on her lower back, the way she leaned in. Sarah's face falls deeper into guilt with every detail he mentions. Jason's discomfort grows obvious. The tension is too much for him, and he finally mutters, "I should give you two some space." Without waiting for a response, he turns and slips away into the crowd, leaving Sarah and her husband standing alone, exposed, silent, and surrounded by the echoes of the moment neither of them can take back. He doesn't want to make a scene in front of everyone, so he takes a steady breath and quietly says, "Let's go somewhere private." His voice is calm, but the seriousness in it leaves no room for argument. Sarah swallows hard, glancing nervously around as if worried that people are watching. Reluctantly, she nods and follows him out of the ballroom, her footsteps shaky. They step into a quieter hallway outside the venue where the noise of the party fades into a distant echo. The air feels colder, sharper, matching the tension between them. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Sarah's breath trembles as she finally whispers, "Look, it wasn't what you think." She tries to arrange her expression into something reassuring, but guilt flickers across her face. "It was harmless fun. You're misunderstanding everything." She says Jason is just friendly, that everyone jokes around like that at office parties, as though the behavior he witnessed was normal or expected. He keeps his voice steady, refusing to let anger take over. "Harmless fun," he repeats quietly, then lists the things he saw. The whispering in Jason's ear, the way she touched his arm, the way Jason touched her back, the closeness, the laughing that was a little too personal, a little too intimate. Each detail lands heavily, and Sarah's expression crumbles further. Her eyes fill with tears, her lips trembling as she insists, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear I didn't." His composure slips slightly, and a burst of emotion rises to the surface. "Do you understand how embarrassing that was?" he asks, voice thick with hurt. "How I felt standing there, watching my wife act like that with someone else." He asks her directly if something is missing in their relationship, if she has been unhappy, if she has been looking for attention elsewhere. Sarah shakes her head furiously, tears streaming now. No, it's not like that. I wasn't trying to replace you." She wipes her face and finally admits the truth in a strained voice. She says she got carried away. She had been drinking more than she realized. The excitement of the party, the atmosphere, the music, it all made her act differently, more boldly. "I didn't think about how it looked," she says, trembling. "I didn't think about how it would make you feel." The narrator listens, torn between relief that she admits wrongdoing and the lingering pain of what he saw. The line between explanation and excuse blurs in the hallway's dim lighting. And although he hears her words, the weight of the moment remains heavy on his chest, refusing to lift. He finally exhales, long and tired, and says, "I want to go home." There's no anger in his tone, just exhaustion so deep it feels heavy in the air between them. Sarah nods quietly, wiping the last of her tears with the back of her hand. She doesn't argue or try to convince him to stay. Instead, she falls into step behind him as they walk through the hallway, past the ballroom doors where the music and laughter continue without them. The joyful noise feels painfully out of place compared to the silence building around them. They make their way through the lobby, neither speaking. The night air outside feels cold against their warm, flushed faces. The moment they reach the car, Sarah hesitates before opening the passenger door, as if hoping he might say something, anything, to ease the tension. But he doesn't. He unlocks the doors and gets in without a word. She follows quietly, her movements small and uncertain. When he starts driving, the silence fills every inch of the car. The road ahead is dark, lit only by passing streetlights that flicker across the windshield. Sarah turns her head toward him several times, wanting to speak, wanting to explain more, but every time she opens her mouth, she closes it again. She doesn't know what to say that won't make everything worse. Her hands stay twisted tightly in her lap. He keeps his eyes fixed on the road, barely blinking. He doesn't trust his voice. He's afraid that if he speaks now, the hurt will spill out in ways he can't control. Instead, he stares out the window, letting the city blur past while his mind replays the same painful images over and over. Her laughter with Jason, the closeness, the whisper, the touch. The silence between them grows heavier with each mile. It's not the comfortable kind they've shared before. This silence is sharp, suffocating, filled with things neither of them knows how to say yet. And as they continue driving through the dimly lit streets, one thing becomes clear. The distance between them is no longer just physical. It has settled deep inside the car, deep inside their marriage, and neither of them knows how to bridge it yet. Once they arrive home, they move quietly into the living room, the weight of the night pressing down on them. The soft glow of the lamps contrasts sharply with the turmoil in their minds. Sarah sits hesitantly on the couch, her hands clasped tightly together. She opens her mouth to speak, trying to explain, to justify, to make sense of what happened. "I wasn't thinking, it wasn't intentional," she murmurs, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to hurt you." He sits across from her, leaning forward slightly, hands resting tensely on his knees. "Do you understand how much that hurt me?" he asks softly but firmly, his voice cracking only slightly. "Seeing you like that with him, it felt like everything I trusted was torn apart in an instant." He recounts the image of her laughing, leaning close, and the intimacy he witnessed, letting her hear the weight of what he felt. For the first time in months, maybe even years, they begin to speak honestly about their marriage. Sarah admits she's been feeling a little neglected lately, though her love for him remains strong. She shares that the party's excitement made her act differently, giving her a fleeting sense of attention and freedom she hadn't realized she was craving. He, in turn, confesses how shocked he was to see this side of her, a playful, flirtatious side he never expected, one that now feels like a betrayal. The conversation turns to trust. He hesitates, his voice heavy. "Has this ever happened before?" She shakes her head vehemently, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No. Never. I swear." She apologizes again and again, breaking down into sobs, racked with guilt. The sincerity in her voice is undeniable, yet the sting of what he saw lingers sharply. Eventually, he tells her he needs time. Time to process, to untangle the emotions swirling inside him. He loves her deeply, but the memory of that flirtation, so public, so bold, continues to burn. They sit together, silent now, the room thick with unresolved feelings, knowing that the night has shifted something fundamental between them. Later, lying in bed, he stares at the ceiling, replaying every moment over and over. He knows that this night will remain etched in his memory forever. It will either become the beginning of healing, a turning point toward rebuilding trust, or the first step toward a fracture they may never fully mend. Regardless, the weight of what he saw has changed the landscape of their marriage irreversibly. In the days following the party, the narrator finds himself unable to sleep in the same room as Sarah. The memories of what he saw, the laughter, the closeness, the whispered words, linger too vividly, making even shared space feel suffocating. He retreats to the guest room, lying awake for hours, replaying the events over and over. Each recollection twists in his mind, leaving him tangled between love, hurt, and disbelief. In an effort to process his emotions, he begins journaling. On paper, he pours out every detail: the image of Sarah with Jason, the ache in his chest, the confusion, and the questions that weigh on him. He writes about trust, betrayal, and the fragility of the bond they share, trying to determine whether forgiveness is something he can even offer. Meanwhile, Sarah is acutely aware of the distance that now exists between them. She approaches carefully, speaking softly when he seems receptive and retreating when he needs space. She expresses her remorse repeatedly, each apology heartfelt, knowing that words alone cannot erase the moment he witnessed. At work, she becomes cautious, avoiding Jason entirely, steering clear of situations that might cause further misunderstanding or temptation. She even considers requesting a transfer within her department to make it clear that her focus is on repairing the trust she has damaged. Despite her efforts, the atmosphere between them remains tense. He observes her attempts, noting the sincerity in her actions, but still feeling the weight of the previous night pressing heavily on his heart. Both are caught in a delicate balance of grief and hope, grief over the breach of trust and the raw emotions it unearthed, and hope that careful reflection, honesty, and effort might allow them to rebuild the connection they once took for granted. The days become a slow, deliberate dance of testing boundaries, seeking reassurance, and trying to reconcile the love he still feels with the hurt he cannot forget. In the quiet aftermath, the narrator sits alone, reflecting deeply on everything that has transpired. He thinks about marriage, not just as a shared life, but as a delicate balance of trust, respect, and emotional boundaries. He realizes that while relationships can grow gradually, nurtured over years with patience and love, they can fracture in a single, unexpected moment. The vivid memory of Sarah leaning close to Jason, laughing and touching him, has etched itself permanently into his mind, a reminder of how fragile even strong bonds can be when trust is tested. He contemplates the future with a mixture of uncertainty and cautious hope. He doesn't know what lies ahead, whether this breach will ultimately heal or leave a lasting scar. Yet, in the midst of confusion and hurt, they make a joint decision: to attend counseling. It is a step toward rebuilding, a commitment to communicate, to confront uncomfortable truths, and to restore what has been shaken. He clings to the hope that with effort and honesty, they can rediscover the intimacy and trust that were momentarily lost. Still, he knows the image of that night, the flirtation, the laughter, the closeness, will never entirely fade. It will always linger at the edges of his memory, a cautionary shadow reminding him of vulnerability, temptation, and the consequences of blurred boundaries. As he lies awake later, processing the week's events, he understands that the night at the office party was more than just a fleeting incident. It was a turning point. It forced a confrontation not only with Sarah's actions, but with his own perceptions of trust, love, and forgiveness. He realizes that while their marriage may survive, it will carry the imprint of this moment forever. He closes his reflection with a quiet, somber acknowledgement. That night didn't just change my view of Sarah, it changed my understanding of trust forever. It is a truth he will carry forward, shaping how he sees relationships, boundaries, and the fragile, precious nature of love. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please subscribe our channel Awesome Visual Story.